I have got a fresh iced coffee. I've got my list of books. What more do I need? The books of summer. Let's get it going. Hello! Welcome back, or welcome if you're new here. If you are new here, hi, my name is Carrie. I am a TV host and I live in Kansas City, Missouri. Fall is here. It has arrived, which means that it's time to go back and talk about all the books we read in the summer. It has actually taken me way longer than I wanted it to get this video up, but I have been busy, to be honest. I've been volunteering a lot. I've been working a lot. I broke my foot. I've just been preoccupied, but better late than never, right? If it is your first time here, I'm gonna link down below my other book recaps. I do a recap of all the books I read every season. So I do a winter, spring, summer, fall recap, and then at the end of the year, I do my best books of the year. I read anywhere from 50 to 75 books a year. I am already up past 50. I will probably get to 75 by the end of the year, but that's pretty much in line with what I do every year, between 50 and 75. I like to read a variety of books. I love some lit fic. I love some thrillers, a little bit of romance here and there. I love some memoirs. I love a little nonfiction. Like, I love a little bit of everything. Before we really dive into the books, I want to give you the disclaimer that I always give at the beginning of these, is that books are subjective. These are my thoughts. And if you don't agree with my thoughts, that's perfectly okay. I am not a professional book reader. I am not an author, a book reviewer, a writer, any of those things. I'm just a random person on the internet who likes to read and then likes to come on and talk to people who maybe want to hear about it. It's really not that serious. With that being said, I hope this is a place where we can all respectfully share our opinions. Before we jump into the books, let's get to the stats. This summer, I read 19 books. That is a pretty solid number for me. I read way more in the colder weather months because it is dark and depressing and dreary and there's like nothing to do outside in the Midwest. So of course I'm in my house reading more. In the summer is when I tend to read the least. So the fact that I got to 19 books is pretty impressive for me. And I think that that has a lot to do with the fact that I definitely was listening to some books. So that always pads my numbers and helps keep my reading like flow going throughout the summer months, because I can be outside walking my dog, volunteering at the shelter, and still listening to books. All right, let's jump in. All right, the first book I read in summer 2025 is Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. I am very much middle of the road with Emily Henry. I think she writes solid books, but I've definitely read some of her books and been like, this isn't really very good. That being said, this is probably my favorite Emily Henry book that I've read. So our main characters are Alice and Hayden. They are both writers and they both get invited to come to this woman Margaret's place and do a 1-month trial of writing her biography, essentially. And whoever she likes better, whatever story she likes better, will get the chance to write the entire biography. There is kind of a story within this story, if that makes sense, about Margaret's life. And I really enjoyed hearing Margaret's life. I know some people did not, but I thought it added a lot. And I loved that it did lean on the lit fic side. I know the people who were really into romance and strictly romance readers, this was not enough romance for them, but for me, it was perfect. I really, really enjoyed this one. Like I said, probably one of my, if not my favorite Emily Henry book ever. The next book I read is actually one I listened to. It's called The House of My Mother, A Daughter's Quest for Freedom by Shari Franke. I am not particularly drawn to family channels or like mommy vloggers or bloggers, so I don't know as much about this culture, but there's definitely a culture online, TikTok, YouTube, where children are content, like as young as newborns to babies to then children in their adolescence. And to be honest with you, like going through adolescence and having someone A, film all that, or B, exploit it for views or clicks or money is, I think back to what I was like when I was a teenager. It would have mortified me. It would have absolutely mortified me. So this book made me think a lot about the concept of children as content and the rights that they really don't have, and how people and parents can very quickly become mentally not sound of mind, and it becomes like at the children's expense. The biggest conclusion I came to with this is that we need to be protecting children when it comes to online content. Full stop. We need to be protecting children better. The next book I read is called Broken Country by Clare Leslie Hall. This book, wow. Our main character is Beth, and she is married to a man named Frank. They're very happily married, but some circumstances come up and strange things happen, and Gabriel ends up moving back to town a little ways from Beth and where her husband Frank live with his young son, and it triggers a lot of feelings in Beth and a lot of grief and loss. There becomes some blurred lines, a love triangle, things like that. This book was so heavy and still so beautiful and well done. Like, I did not want to put it down. There is an element of suspense in this. It's not a thriller, but there is a point where you're waiting to see who did something. And so there was suspense in this book, but it really read like literary fiction with a little suspense tied into it. It honestly reminded me a lot of God of the Woods in the way that it was written, in the way that the prose was, in the way that it was a little bit thrilling, but mostly driven by, you know, the lit fic of it all. Like, just a really, really great book. Honestly, books like this are some of my favorites because there's not really like one character that I liked or disliked more than the others. It's so easy in books when it's cut and dry. This is the good person, this is the bad person, there we go. There were people who did bad things, but I could see everyone's side, I could see everyone's point of view, and it really creates this like internal struggle for the reader, in my opinion. So I found myself like just internally not knowing how I wanted this to end. Just a truly fabulous book. The next book that I listened to is called I'll Have What She's Having by Chelsea Handler. I have a confession. This is my first Chelsea Handler book, which is kind of crazy because I love a celeb memoir, and I think this is like her 5th book or something. Like, she's written lots of books, plenty of books. I don't know why I've never picked up her books, and I don't know why I decided that this was going to be the one that I picked up, but it was. Even without reading her other books, it's obvious to me that Chelsea is at a place in her life where she is really contemplative, but also really accepting of who she is and who she has become, the things she likes, the things that bring her peace. Like, she's very much got this sense of like, I am a grown ass woman. This is who I am. This is what I like. This is what I do. And she's like worked on that. So that was the overarching like theme of this book. And of course it was funny. She had a lot of really funny stories in there. Funny stories, but with like deep meaning. Like, she told some stories that a couple of them I re-listened to those chapters again because I thought the takeaway from that chapter was really important and I wanted to rehear it again. So I don't know, this book definitely makes me want to pick up some of her other books because I just really enjoyed my time. Again, a quick listen, fun, easy. Her books, I think I have to read more of them. The next book I read is called Early 30s by Josh DeBuff. This book is really a slice of life of our two main characters who have been best friends for a decade, Victor and Zoe. This book really just chronicles them as they go through their late 20s to early to mid 30s and follows like the ups and downs in their friendship and their relationship, follows them through heartbreak, through job changes, through all types of things that you go through in your early 30s. As someone who is also in that same like age category as them, I found a lot of what they were going through relatable on a lot of levels. The problem with this book, or it's not even that big of a problem, but my critique of this book is that the main character, specifically Victor, was insufferable at times. I wanted to jump through the screen and punch him in the face. He just like had annoying tendencies and very much like, woe is me. Like, you could tell that he thought the world revolved around him, and at times that was really frustrating because I just wanted him to wake up and like touch grass, like take a step back and be like, the world doesn't revolve around me. And I think that could have solved a lot of his problems. That being said, I did for the most part enjoy myself as I was reading this. I ended up giving it 3.5 stars, and it's not going to be a book that I go out and recommend to a bunch of people or I think back on a lot, honestly, but it did pass the time just fine, which is essentially what I want to do most of the time when I'm reading. I just want to go to another place where I can think about other people and their problems and escape to their little world. And in that sense, like, it did that just fine. The next book I listened to is called Master of Me, The Secret to Controlling Your Narrative by Keke Palmer. Keke is a fabulous narrator, of course. She's a voice actor, she's a host, she's an actress, she's a singer. Like, she does it all. Of course, she was great at reading her own audiobook. I don't have a ton to say about this book other than I just love Keke and I enjoyed listening to her story. She really has had different stages and phases of her career, and it was interesting. It's always going to be interesting for me to go back and watch someone reflect on that, listen to someone reflect on that, because you can't do that looking forward. You can only do it in hindsight. So to hear her dissect all that was pretty interesting. If you are a Keke fan like me, you will enjoy this. If you are someone who is really inspired by the multi-hyphenate life, you will enjoy this. Like, she's just a great time. The next book I read is called Meet Me by the Lake by Carley Fortune. Our main characters in this book are Fern and Will. The book has two different timelines, which is something that she is known to do. She did that in Every Summer After. There's like a present day and then there's like a back in the day timeline. So you're kind of putting things together in both of those timelines. But Will and Fern have like this 24-hour get together in Toronto back in the day, and it is amazing and wonderful and all these things. They end up being pulled apart by life, and then all these years later she comes back to like her little, you know, town on the lake that's always, you know, like a little Canadian town on a lake. And she is like taking over the inn or the resort that was once owned by her family. And Will is there, of course. I'm not gonna tell you how, but he ends up there as well. And things just kind of snowball from there. Honestly, there was nothing super wrong with this book, but it was just average in every way. Like, I found Fern and Will both to be average. I found their love story to be very average. Like, everything about this was so average. There's no other word to describe this for me than average. So that was disappointing because I'm so used to 4, 4.5, and 5-star reads when it comes to Carley Fortune, but this one is one that is skippable. All right, the next book I listened to is called The Alter Ego Effect, The Power of Secret Identities to Transform Your Life. This is by Todd Herman. The main lesson from this book is that some of the highest achievers, the most successful people we know, are able to do that because they're able to separate themselves from their work. And they do that by creating an alter ego. He gives a lot of explanations in the book, but of course, one of the famous ones we think of is Superman and Clark Kent. Another one that we think of in popular culture, the one that I think of all the time, is Beyonce and Sasha Fierce. I do think the concept like this is really interesting, especially because I'm someone where I am on camera for my job. My job is to be on camera. I don't particularly myself have an alter ego, and to an extent, because I'm a lifestyle host and I interview people for a living, it is important for me to be genuine and authentic. And if I am putting on an alter ego, that might not come across as genuine and authentic, if that makes sense. But my authenticity relaxes the people I'm interviewing. It makes them able to open up to me more. So I do think that I need to take this advice with a grain of salt. If I were an actor or a performer or a singer or an athlete, I think I could really go all in with the alter ego. But again, because bringing my whole self to an interview, to a conversation, helps the person I'm interviewing, there's only so much I can take from this. It's hard to explain if you're not doing that every day, if it's not part of your job. I don't know. I hope some of that makes sense. Next up, I read 3 Days in June. This is by Ann Tyler. This is a short little book. Literally, it is 165 pages, a short book. In fact, if you're looking to get out of a slump, maybe this is a book you want to pick up because it's short and it's really just a slice of life. It takes place over 3 days in June, like the title says. Our main character's name is Gail, and she's getting ready to get her daughter, Debbie, married. And at the wedding, of course, is her ex-husband, Max, and she's also going through like a couple other things here and there. And there are little things that happen over the course of these 3 days. But for the most part, like, this is the definition of a vibes book. And because it's the definition of a vibes book, my thoughts are just vibes. Like, I don't remember a ton about, I mean, I remember the plot because it was so easy and simple, but like, this is not going to be something I remember. It's really like a 2.5 star book for me. Just very like basic vibes. Again, if you're looking for like a slump buster or something, or want to add to your Goodreads, like 165 pages, pick her up. I don't know. The next book I read is called Deep Cuts by Holly Brickley. There are a lot of people that are saying that this is the musical version of Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, which unsurprisingly, that book is one of my favorite books of, I think, 2023 or 2024. The year that I read that book, it was one of my favorite books of the year. So unsurprisingly, I also love this book. Our main character is Percy and our other main character is Joe, and they meet in the year 2000 in college. I think they're at like UC Berkeley. And Joe is a struggling musician, and Percy is not musical in a sense that she doesn't sing or play an instrument, but she like understands music on a super like visceral level. Like, she is a writer. She knows how to write. She knows how to make music, but she doesn't know how to like be the person doing the music. Anyway, her and Joe form a friendship, and they end up starting to make music together, which actually like helps to have his music take off. And the book kind of follows them as they go through their life. They definitely have falling outs with each other. Joe gets some success, and Percy's going through her own things. Like, it follows the course of that. And of course, there's some romantic elements to this as well. They are not just friends. Things kind of go from there. But this book was so good. You don't have to be a music snob to get into this book, much like Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, which was about video games. Like, I don't give a shit about video games, and I loved that book. Like, you don't need to know music to enjoy this book. I do not have a copy of this book, but I do think I will buy one for my bookshelf because it makes me smile just to think about it. The next book I listened to is called Tilt by Emma Pattee. Another book that is pretty short in size. It is 229 pages. And like I said, I listened to this and I listened to it over the course of like one volunteer shift. So from start to finish at the shelter. So I listened to it literally in one sitting. Our main character in this is Annie, and she is 37 weeks pregnant and she is at IKEA looking for a crib when an earthquake strikes Portland, Oregon, where she is, and she is like trying to find her way through the rubble and trying to find her partner and trying to make sense of everything that is going on. Some of my favorite book people that I really am similar with in my views on books have given this good reviews, and I hate to say it, but this was so annoying to me. I found myself so annoyed with this main character most of the book. She was such a sourpuss, such a Debbie Downer, and don't get me wrong, like she's obviously in a shit situation, but she was so negative about everything. The other thing that bothered me about this, of course this book is written like we are in her brain, it's written like her stream of consciousness. She talked so much shit about her partner like all the time, and it seemed like she was really bitter at him because she gave up her career, her dream, and he didn't. He didn't want to give up his career and his dream, but she seems bitter that she did. And it was frustrating for me to listen to her complain about him. And I'm like, you made this choice. Like, this was your choice. The other part of this that was annoying was that she was 37 weeks pregnant, and I've never been pregnant, so maybe I don't have a right to say this, but all of my girlfriends that have been pregnant say that you are a bump on a log. You cannot physically do anything. Literally, you are incapable of doing anything. Walking, sitting, everything hurts. It's just not possible. This woman in this book was doing so much. She was walking miles and she was moving things and she was like this and that. And I'm like, this is not realistic. A 37-week, pregnant woman would not be able to do this. The ending was horrible. The ending was absolutely horrible. I hated it. It was just, there was so much about this book that was frustrating. It wasn't a bad book, and like I said, there are a lot of like literary people that I follow that really had high praise of this, but for the most part, this just annoyed me. I was annoyed this entire book. I'm glad it was so short because if it was longer, I probably would have DNF'd it. The next book I read is called The Sirens by Emila Hart. I was super excited for this book because I loved her first book, which is called Wayward. And this was not it. This book was so boring to me. There are different plot lines in this. So there are 3 different, main characters, much like in Wayward, you're going back and forth in time and you have like different main characters that you're following. I could tell that the author was trying to make this a little bit suspenseful, but I was not suspended. There was no suspense happening for me. For most of the book, I was pretty bored. The last 75 pages or so did pick up, and I felt like there was a little bit of like, things were moving and grooving, but like I shouldn't have to wait till the last 75 pages to get that in a book. Just a miss for me, which is unfortunate. I will say the cover of this book is absolutely beautiful. The next book I read is called The Wedding People by Alison Espach. Oh my gosh, I love this book. I love this book. Our main character Phoebe books a room at this beautiful hotel in Rhode Island, and she goes there with the intention to end her life. She quickly learns when she gets there that she is the only person at the hotel that is not a part of this big wedding that is going on. She ends up meeting the bride, Lila, and Lila is kind of this self-centered rich girl, and she's like, well, you can't do that. That's gonna ruin my weekend. So she convinces her not to do what she had planned to do, and Phoebe kind of gets enmeshed in this group. She meets Lila's family, she meets Lila's friends, she meets the groom. Like, she just becomes enmeshed in this whole wedding festivities. Good books are able to do a lot of things at once, in my opinion, and that's what this book did. It was laugh out loud funny. It was also like very contemplative. It made me think a lot. It covered a lot of heavy topics. It covered suicide, the loss of a loved one. It covered a lot, and I love books like that. I loved these characters. Everyone in this book is like kind of going through their stuff, and you're rooting for all of them because they're all deeply flawed, and our main character especially very deeply flawed, but she's still really likable, and I really found myself rooting for her, wanting the best for her, and just really loving these characters. That was my only like critique on this book, is like I didn't want it to end. Like, I wanted more of these characters. I'm like, please continue. The next book I read is Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I love Taylor Jenkins Reid. She is my queen. Her writing is just harmonious to my soul. So I figured I was gonna love this book. I did love this book. It was 5 stars. wonderful, amazing, all the things. Our main character in this one is name is Joan, and she is in 1980 going through some training at the Houston Johnson Space Center along with a group of other candidates for going into space, being astronauts. And of course this is in 1980, so it's at this time when women are really just being allowed to like even be in the room for things like this, let alone take part in them. So it was really like a slice in time, and I was not born in the 80s. So for me, it's fun to go back to these times and have these stories be told in times when I wasn't around and things are so different nowadays. But that in and of itself was super interesting to me. There's like a little bit of like historical fiction to this. This book is labeled on the cover a love story, so of course there is a love plot to this, but there's a lot of other plots. We see Joan go through a lot of learning about herself, discovering herself, pushing through what she should and shouldn't want when it comes to career, being a woman, her relationship with her niece Frances, which is a big part of this book and I found really heartwarming. Again, just like I said with The Wedding People, in my opinion, books that can do multiple things and make me feel multiple things are always going to stick with me, and this book was able to do that. It's hard for me to say a ton more without giving it away, but if you haven't read this book, or if you like Taylor Jenkins Reid other books, you will probably like this as well. She's my book queen. She's an auto-buy author. I ordered this right away. I pre-ordered it. Like, I love this book. The next book I read is called The Names by Florence Knapp. This book took me by surprise. Our main character's name is Cora, and she has a young daughter, and then she just gave birth to her second child, a son. And the book starts out that she is going to register the name of her son. And the book diverges into 3 different plot lines of life, and they are 3 different plot lines based on what she chose to name her son. So in one, she names him one thing, in the other plot line, she names him something else, and then in the other plot line, she names him something else. And we see how the story is different based on what she names them. It sounds really like trivial, but this book is deep. It is a gut punch. It'll make you think. It'll make you a little queasy. It will just make you feel the things. Again, this book surprised me so much. I wasn't sure what I was getting, but man, oh man, I was looking forward to picking this up every time I went to bed. I was looking forward to getting back into this world, to seeing how our main characters were doing. This book might be too heavy for some people. There was a lot of talk of domestic abuse in this. At times, it was really, really hard for me to read that. So if that is something you're at all sensitive to, just be aware. But this, man, oh man, this is a book. This is a book. The next book I read is called 32 Days in May by Betty Corrello. I'm gonna be so for real right now and say that I picked this up because I thought the cover was absolutely beautiful. Covers matter, okay? They do. Our main character in this is Nadia, and she ends up coming back to her family's like vacation home. I think it's on the Jersey Shore. And she is just recently been diagnosed with lupus and is kind of throwing her life upside down. She is obviously struggling to adjust. So Nadia comes back to this home on the Jersey Shore to just kind of settle into life. While she is there, she gets set up with like a friend of a friend, his cousin. His name is Marco, and he is an actor who has had some success, but has also had like a very public burnout and done some things in public that weren't great. So they are both just looking for fun. So they kind of decide that they are going to hang out and date for the month of May. And of course, it's not always that simple. There end up being real feelings and things go from there. This book reminded me a lot of an Abby Jimenez book in that it is mainly a romance, but there was big, heavy topics covered in this. I loved the banter between these two characters. Banter is really important to me in real life, but also in books. I find those characters to have the most chemistry, and these characters had really good banter. I really enjoyed myself. This was really fun. The last book I read of summer 2025 was a reread. I reread the book Every Summer After by Carley Fortune. The main reason why I reread this book is because I got my hands on this One Golden Summer, which is the brothers' story of that first book. So the main characters in Every Summer After are Percy and Sam, and it is their love story. Again, there are dueling timelines here in this. It's like before, now, before, now. And so, of course, Sam's brother, it's his story in this one. So I'm like, before I read this one, I really should go back and read this one. The first time I read this book, I gave it 5 stars. Loved it, absolutely loved it. Second time around, you guys, I still just loved it. Like, I still loved this book. It was still a 5-star read for me on the reread. I love this book, I really do. Like, it's a good book. I don't know what else to tell you. It gives you the summer nostalgia vibes. It gives you like growth of a character. It gives you love. It gives you everything. Like, I loved this. I'm so glad I ended summer rereading this book because it's just a really fun way to end the year. I do need to read this now that it is fall. I'm going to be reading a summer book in fall, which like there could be worse things, but I really did reread this just so that I could remind myself of the brothers plotline. And now that I've reread this, I feel very equipped to go into this one. Those are the books I read in summer 2025. You know, making this video back, I really had some great reads this summer, and it's so fun to reflect on them and remember how much I loved these books. I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. I just love talking about books. It's so fun. I'm gonna leave links to my other past recaps. I'm also gonna leave a link to my Goodreads because I'm always updating what I'm reading there in real time. I'm also doing more real-time review stuff of books on my TikTok, so I will link that down below where you can go follow me there. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm so grateful and appreciative to each and every one of you. I am sending you love wherever you are in the world. I'll see you again very soon in my next video. Bye!